We're going to get into the Q&A portion of the evening, and I would like to welcome a guest who I met last night for the first time, and she's incredibly awesome. She's very down to earth, and you guys know her as Alice in Friday the 13th. Let's bring out Adrienne King.
The next guest, obviously, needs no introduction. All of his work on this series is right there in the lobby in this awesome collection, the CD collection. Let's bring out Harry Manfredini. But we have guests from Friday 6 here in the house. So let's bring down Darcy DeMoss. Darcy, where are you? There she is. Hello, Darcy. She's still right there. And also we have, unfortunately, I won't say Tom McLoughlin, the director of Friday 6. He sends his big hello. He's actually playing in a band down in San Diego right now. Unfortunately, I kind of gave him the word that we were doing a double feature way too late in the game. His band already booked a gig. He was really super bummed out, but he did his best to try to help out in terms of getting guests for this show. But we do have his wife, Nancy McLoughlin, in the house. Nancy was also in the show. Let's bring her down. Nancy? She's all completely decked out in homemade chasing wear. Necklace, t-shirt, down jacket. That's really Let's just sit down right there. I'm sorry, you guys have to share a night and bounce back and forth. Sorry about that. Okay, so. Again, like I said before, this a Q&A of this type is really difficult because there are two works, two retrospectives that really exhausted the franchise, I would say, in terms of getting into kind of the background of the making of the films and stuff like that. Crystal Lake Memories and his name is Jason, two really great resources for everything you want to know about Project Like Me. For a journalist type like me, it's like, wow, what can we talk about? So, one of the first things I wanted to ask you, we were discussing last night some of the films that you've done prior to Friday the 13th. Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever, sorry. Saturday Night Fever, sorry. Yeah. Just talk about getting into this film. I mean, for a lot of, I interviewed a lot of horror or actresses today who are doing horror films today. Or was it, it's a slasher movie?
First of all, are there any actors in the house? Do we have any actors in the house? One actor.
One actor in the house.
Actors want to act. They don't care what it is they want to act, and I was in New York City doing if anyone remembers the Bad Girl routine, running around doing anything and everything that one could possibly do to get a resume and also to act. And one gig will get you to the next gig. And I was doing all Broadway shows, tap dancing, doing jazz, doing little theater, all fun. It was brilliant. And that's where that's where you get it. That's where all of it comes from, all the juices. And her, first of all, we didn't even know when we were on Friday the 13th, but, you know, no one really cared what it was. We didn't have a script to read. There were sides, but they were still working on the script. They had a title before they had a script. I mean, they sold the title without a script. Back then, you could do that. You know, it was such a different world. They would get the investors to put some money so that we could start once they had a good title, you know. So they would, some people would just fill titles. But in terms of acting, I just really wanted to work. And I was doing a lot of commercials. That was really what I was, you know, paying my rent. And I was fortunate enough to have a commercial agent, but I did not have a theatrical agent with Friday the 13th. So I went to an open call with every other actor in New York City. They had 3 days of casting, and I tell you, it was at the Prince-Bob Theatre on the 2nd floor. If any of you have ever been to an open call, hundreds of people showed up. And it took all day long, and then there were callbacks, and it took weeks and weeks before I got to meet, like, you know, Barry Moss and Sean Cunningham. And then when I did, it kind of took another couple of weeks before I did pairings, readings with Kevin and all the other boys in New York City. And it really was just, horror did not have a stigma. Nothing had a stigma as long as they paid you. It was SAG, and they paid you, you know, and it was something that, as far as I was concerned, at that point, I was still trying to keep my clothes on, you know. So that was important for me. But, yeah, no, art, and people say things to this day, why have you done art films? Why did you choose that? No. It chose me, and I was thrilled to have it. And, you know, that's the way it goes. I think any actor would be thrilled. And like I said, I think every actor in New York City was there for that call.
Well, I think the horror community, you know, commends any actor who embraces the genre and, you know, stands on it wholeheartedly. Like, you know, unfortunately, there's actors who, you know, just kind of distance themselves from it. But for you, you've embraced it.
I have embraced it. Even my husband is a horror person. You know, he did a lot of George Romero films, so it's kind of like I didn't start to get into horror, but it ended up as my world, and it's pretty amazing that I'm still here talking about this movie.
Well, I'm going to bounce back and forth, you know, amongst our guests and talk about Friday 6 and Friday 1. For Nancy and Darcy, for you guys, you know, for Nancy, for you, it might be a little bit different because Tom was your husband at the time. But for you, Darcy, yes, still is. And for you, Darcy, like, when Friday 6 came about, was there kind of a certain excitement level? Was there a certain competition amongst actors? You know, like, oh my gosh, there's a new Friday in a way. You know, I really want to get that gig.
Well, I auditioned for part 5 and got the role, but I didn't end up doing it. I got paid for it, and they brought me in for part 6, and they said, tell her you met Frank Mancuso Jr. before. So I went in and met him, got the role, and then they put me in part 7, so I actually got paid for 3 of them, which was kind of fun.
Real nice, Darcy, rub it in.
But I was excited about part 6, and I really liked Tom, and I loved the humor that he put into it, which made it a lot lighter and more fun, I think.
Well, Nancy, talk about your scene, your specific scene. I think that the scene that you share and your death, I think, really encapsulates the whole film in terms of the balance between horror and humor.
It was such a blast, and Tommy did it especially right for me because we used to do workshops together, acting workshops, and we would do a lot of, Sullivan's Travels and things like that, kind of witty kind of humor. So we wanted to do a scene sort of like that. So it was kind of fun, and I felt very comfortable with it. And going to Universal Studios a few years ago, watching, that's the scene they chose to show of the death, and having a redheaded actress die 50 times a day for you. It was kind of fun. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant mix.
Is there anybody out there who hasn't seen Friday 6 yet? Am I giving away spoilers?
You like it?
Sorry. Well, there's I was so impressed with everybody for somebody for months. Harry, lift. let's talk about this box set.
Yeah,
Let's talk about this box set. How did this first come to you as a project, in terms of packaging all of your works together for the Friday set?
well, the box set, that's so funny. Probably for the last 10 years, maybe more, people have been screaming at me, why don't we do this? And the biggest problem with this was there were no masters. The master tapes were lost, or at least I thought they were lost. And I thought, well, maybe I can rebuild them. And everybody was going, no, don't rebuild. Or we were, no, don't do that. We want the ones, that's nice that you want them, but I can't give them. Anyway, at about somewhere around March or April of this last year, I had a lunch at Lionsgate on something completely different, and then eventually we started to talk about, and we wanted to put out a compilation album. And I said, well, that's nice. I said, but there are no masters. But somewhere in the middle of the lunch, I said, what's really weird is Paramount just put out the first 6 DVDs of the films. And I said, how the hell did they make the films, the DVDs, without the music? And we all went, you're right, how did they do that? And so what happened was Lenny Wall, who was the head of music at Lionsgate, was good friends with the head of music at Paramount, and they had a call, and the next 2 days later, I found myself in the archives of Paramount and walked into a room where I saw tapes that I hadn't seen in 35 years. And I went, wow, those are cool. Can I have those? And they said, no. And then there was these really cool black suitcases. And I said, can I have that? And they said, no. And I said, well, this is nice. And I said, well, what's in the suitcase? And they said, the Pro Tools mixes for the DVDs. And I went, I said, can I have those? No. I said, well, can I get copies? And they said, well, let's think about it. And 2 days later, I came back with a hard drive and downloaded all of the Pro Tools files for the first 5 movies. We didn't have 6 yet. And then a very good friend of mine, Dan Farrens, who surreptitiously, well, Dan called me one day and said, I've got some tapes in my car here. And I baked them because they were 30 years old, and ended up having a pretty good copy of all of Part 6, plus all of the Sail Away song, the thing from the diner, and the banjo song, and all these other things. So I had all those things already, so I didn't say anything to the folks at Paramount, but pretty much I had everything. And then the next meeting at Lionsgate brought in Michael and Matt from McLoughlin. They said, well, we want to release everything. And I said, really? Everything? They said, yeah, everything. Every note there is. And I said, really? And they said, yeah. So anyway, what you see out there is literally every note of music that there is in 1 through 6. That's been included and masterfully mastered by a fellow named James Nelson up in Seattle, and boy, they sound great. And also liner notes by a fellow named Ryan Turek that are, when I read them, I went, wow, he made this seem like something rather amazing. But they're really quite good because they're not only musical, but they're very informational too, just about anybody would want to read them. But I just want to make one note about these people sitting up here. Subsequently, you've seen other Friday the 13th, and I know you've seen other horror films because, God, what a turnout, I can't believe it. It's pretty amazing. Horror fans. But Adrienne and I had the pleasure of doing we both had microphones and literally spoke through the entire film that you just saw. And I'll tell you something, there's actual acting in that film. There's an actual set of characters who you really like. Not everybody looks like they just stepped off a modeling stage. There are people that you care about. There are incredibly clever scenes with Betsy. Of course, forget about it. She's an amazing actress. Adrienne, as the, what we like to call the final girl in the movies. And there's just so many scenes in there where you get to actually feel something for the characters. They're just not people who are there to die. And if you watch that movie, it's a better movie than you think. The same thing with Part 6. I mean, I'm serious. When I got to meet Tom and he told me what was going on with that movie, and you remember, I just went, oh my God, this guy actually wants to make a movie. It's not Jason as a shark, it's really going to be something. And we really made quite a film that was quite good. I mean, if those of you who haven't seen it are going to see one of my favorite scenes that I got to score at the very beginning, where they bring Jason back to life with Ron Palillo, and it's just really, and some of my best music, and just really well-crafted movie. Those of you who see a lot of horror films, watch Part 6, watch Part 1, and you'll notice the difference between these movies and a lot of the stuff that you see that, you know, masquerades as horror films. I'll be quiet. Thank you, Ryan.
We're done. Thank you. You know, I wanted to ask you, you know, how much of your character did you develop with Victor in terms of your backstory? Really early on in the script, we, you know, hear you have unfinished business in California and stuff like that. And I'm always curious, you know, I mean, how much did you get into it?
We all created entire backstories of our own. There was nothing given to us. It was like, seriously, I'm telling you, there was like no discussion. We were all on our own, and luckily we were all well-trained actors that we knew how to go for it and with gusto. We used to sit around talking about our backgrounds to each other all set, you know. It was like, so where do you come from? Like, I'm in California, and having problems with my boyfriend, you know, and, that kind of thing. So we were totally into it, and you know, Betsy, oh lordy, she.
If she was here,
I know. This is a whole conversation. We'd be sitting here listening to Betsy, and she would be wowing us, and yeah, she's just. Sean Cunningham and kept Betsy and I away from each other so we could not bond, which was a good idea, because otherwise we would have been best friends, and it would have been hard to, you know, behead her. So, and but afterwards, like down the road, we actually once we started, we reacquainted ourselves with the conventions. We became best of friends, and adorable.
Well, I wanted to talk about, before we jump to kind of Friday 6 humor, I think that there's a palpable difference between the humor that we get in Friday 1 and then what we see in Friday 6. There's something very innocent and genuine. We were talking about this last night, you know. I think that, and every time I see it, there's something even a little bit funnier. Just coming out of the character situations. What was that vibe like on set? Were you guys, was that just coming out of it because you guys were becoming a team?
It was definitely that. We got to hang out as kids. We were all really bonded by the fact that we're all kind of at the same place, struggling to make it in New York as actors. Kevin had Animal House, I think, underneath his belt. But other than that, we were all kind of at the same place. And we were all so thrilled because we'd all gone through the same process, and it took the entire summer of 1979, you know, to finally end up as the chosen ones to do this. So we all started the day after Labor Day on a little minivan going from New York City up to Novi Vasco, and got to know each other before we got there, and totally bonded immediately. And said, throw that in there. You know, that's how it worked. And Harry was quietly very, very funny, and I mean, just genuinely a good group of kids. And it was natural, and I think it was so real that it just, it totally comes off. Yeah, it's what you see wasn't acting, it was real, you know, and I guess that is no such thing as acting, it's reality. But quite honestly, it was just having a good time on the beach, and we were all basking in the sun, and I was up on the lifeguard chair. They were doing my sketches as they were setting up the shots, and Kevin Bacon and Harry Crosby were pumping iron. You know, they were so skinny, it was so cute, but they were out there trying to put up their little muscles, you know, and for the beach scene. And it was just a lot of fun. We hung out all the time.
Yeah, there's some moments where they just feel like they just turn on the cameras.
That's
And just
what-
let you do your thing, especially the beach scene when you guys are bringing out the rap.
It was very, very little on choreography. You kind of just, okay, do this, okay, you're on your own, go. And that was it.
Nice. And Nancy, you might have to speak on Tom's behalf. I'm sorry.
Always.
It's,
Even
yeah.
when he's in the room.
Well, in terms of, I mean, what was he kind of conveying to you in terms of when he was, you know, getting the project together in terms of balancing? What I love about it, and I remember you said this in, I think, in the audio commentary, he was inspired by the Universal Classic Monsters, which, you know, really wins me over. So, you know, what was, you know, what did you kind of get a sense from him in terms of, you know, trying to balance the horror and the humor? And for you, Darcy, what was the kind of direction he was giving you? Was he telling you to kind of play it straight and then the comedy would come out of it?
Well, my scene's in the Winnebago, and I have to do this. The Winnebago moves forward, then it moves back, it moves forward, and everything is rigged in the Winnebago to make it look like it's moving, and nothing is moving. The set is completely still, and I'm like moving forward, and like there are little strings on the paintings on the wall that people are pulling, and the curtain or the shades are being pulled. So it's interesting to look at that because it's all me moving forward, and then I hit my foot, and I hit my head, and then I go back, and my tennis shoes fly off my feet, and it was quite comedic, kind of like the Lucy episode. And that's what Tom asked me to make it seem like, and it was a blast to shoot.
You, Nancy, what, you know,
I love what Jason does in that scene. When he just stares at the Winnebago.
It's brilliant.
And I was just, what was he telling me?
well, in terms of what
Do
you
it. Get under that water, stay there with your head viced in a warm mud puddle. Praise God, it was warm. In the middle of the night, 30 degrees, and this is true. This is absolutely true. And my head viced and stay underwater as they shot that scene. And I couldn't say no because I was married to him. That was a real spear. For those who have not seen it yet, there's a real spear going at my head. And they figured, who needs a stunt person when you have the light? We'll make sure she can. No, she's quick. She can move. She can do it. So I just wanted to be good. I just wanted not to have him be bothered. And yes, he did speak a lot about movie making, but with me personally, it was more about I wanted to be good and he wanted to be done.
Or you guys,
Moving on.
were you guys seeing a little bit more studio intervention? Were there a lot of execs on set? Did you kind of get that presence at all in terms of the studio intervening a little bit more in terms of how Friday should be made?
I think we did. I mean, I know the producers were there, but I know they were very gracious and great about it. But most specifically, the first scene where he comes back to life, I recall there was a lot of tension because there was a lot of producers there they wanted, but they gave him so much free reign. I mean, in the beginning, you know, write a script, do this, cast, do whatever you want, and then all of a sudden they came in with, but they were so pleased, they stopped it right away. So I honestly think he was pleased, and he got to throw in all those little, just Tommyisms like they're reading no exit or no way out, and above it says exit. You know, just like the humor that he
Okay, right there.
Mr. Manfredini, is La La Land going to release any of your other soundtracks?
Michael? I don't know. We're talking about a couple of things. I'm hoping. I just wanted to say something about these two things. Again, going back to what this really is, how many people in here, I just want to raise your hand, how many people are like, sort of like, even if tangentially, you're in the film business? Raise your hand. So there's a carload of you. Good. All right, good. Here's the thing. First of all, in part one person we forgot to mention here is Tom Savini, who was like at the top of the I just want to give you a quick one, because if Betsy were here, she would tell a story. She did her backstory about her character, about the, because if she was here, basically we'd all be sitting here watching Betsy take over the entire audience, and she would kill everyone. She had written her backstory about a girl who had gone to high school and gotten pregnant and had a baby. And if you notice, there was a high school ring on her hand through the whole thing. And the guy was, he was a bum, he was gone. But she had a baby, and Jason was her baby. Well, anyway, one day, when she came into Tom Savini's office to get her head done so that Adrienne could chop her head off, she noticed this sort of strange little creature that Tom was building. And she says, well, what's that? He goes, that's your son, Jason. And she goes, that's not my son.
You do Betsy very
I do it very well. That's not my son. Like, he had a whole other take on what the thing was about. But what I wanted to say about two things. This picture, because I love part one, and if I had to pick my next favorite, it would be part 6. because of Tom, you're going to see stuff in this picture that is so subtle. I mean, you've got to watch it 2 or 3 times. Cunningham Construction Company, and all sorts of little things that are inside. And Sean's children are mentioned in the picture. All sorts of things are in this film that are subtle, and if you don't know them. But those of you who make films, and those of you who know how to make a film, you have to understand, Tom walks into a picture, it's 5 pictures old already. And I'm here to tell you, every 8 minutes, somebody's got to die. And if you think it's easy to shoot a script that's intelligent, bright, funny, interesting to watch, where every 8 minutes that bell rings and somebody's got to die, it's not easy to do. So this is the important thing. He really created something. First of all, I mean, you watch it, it's just incredibly clever. It's incredibly clever. And you're with these people through the whole film. So, I mean, I just can't tell you how difficult that is to do. I mean, those of you who raise your hand.
He likes killing people.
He likes killing people. But what I'm saying is that to actually make it flow, make it make sense. It's easy to make a film where everybody gets killed. Duh. You know, that's not that hard. But to make it interesting, to make it visually interesting, and to have actually layers of stuff, very difficult thing to do. Anyway, I'm impressed more with these people who make films than probably anybody is. So I'm done again.
90% of the people that die on this film are his friends, just so you know. And you all may look for the little girl Nancy at the end who's praying. It's me. Just thought I'd share. That's another layer he threw in there. He kills me and then he has me pray.
Well, Nancy, Darcy, what was the set like? You know, I mean, was it?
Yeah. We had so much fun.
You already killed me once, dude. But it was nice shooting, and I was in the Winnebago, and then they built a set, which was the bathroom in the Winnebago, and then they take a wall out of it. And I think for about 8 hours or 6 hours, I literally fought with Jason, and I have the longest fight scene with Jason out of any of his other victims. So I'm pretty proud of that, because I'm only 5'2".
And was CJ gentle?
No, I said, give it to me. You know, it makes it look real. I had so many bruises when I went home, but it was well worth it.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, I don't know. I guess Tom didn't make it tonight. Tom was on his
Apparently not. Yeah, he said he was going to be here.
I'm gonna text him.
He might still be at the bar down the street. You know? He'll show up at the end.
Well, since he's not here to represent, what was he like to work with?
He was a hoot. He was very, very funny, and he talks so fast. It's almost hard to keep track of what he's saying. And he was pretty studly, you know, like, we had this sexy scene we had to do, and he was like, oh yeah, Mr. Macho. And we got on set, and we had to pretend like we're, making love. And our director, Tom, said, gotta lose the boxers. And he went, what? And all of a sudden, he became completely introverted and was a completely different person. I'm like, oh, not so skittish anymore, right? So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. And of course,
I got to work with Tony Goldwyn.
yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah.
That's great. And he's a music director in his own right, too.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Adrienne, I wanted to ask you, between the time that you guys wrapped photography and the time the film came out, what was the expectations in your mind? Did you kind of just put the film aside once you were done, or did you think about it and see what Sean was doing in post-production and stuff like that? Did you stay in touch?
Definitely stayed in touch. We had some moving.
Yeah.
And some excitement. I definitely had interest in what happened because, quite honestly, we ran out of money twice at least that I know of, and almost had. I mean, they kept on going. Please, we need just a little more for one more camera so we can do the scene where Jason pops up. At the end, we needed to do that 3 separate times as it all put the movie more towards the end. And the last scene was actually in the 3rd week of October, and it was cold. It was 27 degrees that morning, and it was just like I never really thought it was going to actually finish the movie. I thought we were going to run out of money, and I did, and that's why I would grab, as an artist anyway, I was grabbing like continuity Polaroids, just to prove that I had been in a film, and just to prove that I really, I grabbed the notes from that Sean wrote the night of the night shoot when we did the beach scene where Betsy's that we're at it the brawl on the beach. We spent the whole night until the sun rose, and he takes those notes and crumples them and throws them away, and I just grabbed them up and and eventually I found them 25 years later, which was a trip. Yeah, but I totally kept in touch because this was my future, This was like, I was praying for this film to go somewhere, and so I asked him if I could come to the screenings a couple of times, and then I asked him if I could bring my mom, and I think most of you know the story with his name was Jason, that I divulge, that I still believe to this day, my mom's getting her she was so thrilled that when we blew the door open for strip monopoly, and then once we got to the end of the movie, so she thought, when I'm in the canoe, she starts to put on her coat, and I'm going, Mom, just wait a second or two, okay, don't, chill. And literally, she jumps 25 feet into, 6 feet, screams a louder scream than I probably did myself. And actually, I'm not kidding you, when I turned around, I looked, and the men in the back were shaking hands, So I felt like, wow, it's really going to get to see this movie. So, yeah, I kept in touch.
Yes. Any other questions on it? Right.
Yes, I have a question for Ms. King and a comment for Mr. Manfredini. Ms. King, in college I wrote a paper analyzing the relationship between
It's free call. I love it. I embrace it. How's that?
And then my comment for Mr. Manfredini was that after the Friday scores, I'm really looking forward to a official release of your Wishmaster compositions.
There is a release of Wishmaster.
There is one?
Yes. If you want, are you local?
I am now.
Okay. Tomorrow with Dark Delicacies. Do you know what that is? It's on Magnolia.
Yeah.
There's a CD of the score of Wishmaster. Okay. Thanks, by the way. I think there was one thing I was thinking about when you did the. Oh, I know what it was. How many people? Again, I'm looking out. You're all young. I don't think you understand the thing with Betsy Palmer. Betsy Palmer had a persona going into this movie. Who would be like Betsy Palmer today? The closest I can get is like maybe Mary Tyler Moore or Katie Couric. Come on, somebody who just like
That's good.
everybody loves. You know, just like the nicest Carol Burnett or someone like, just like somebody like. She's funny, she's sweet, she's got a great smell, she's the nicest person in the world. And we're going to make her the most worst killer, the most worst killer who ever existed. It's Betsy Palmer. It's just like, what a strange coup in terms of casting, which is another thing about that film. I thought that was totally cool. Anyway, I'm done here.
When you said, because I really do forget about production, because it's not like on my head, but running out of money. They did run out of money for Friday 6, and the last shots in the water were shot at my husband's parents' pool. And they had to just walk up my in-laws' pool and shoot.
That's a great director. We'll finish this if it
Yeah,
kills me.
he did. Mom and Dad were really happy.
So keep that in mind when you watch Friday 6.
Background, there's like a rubber duck.
Yeah. I know, it's kind of weird. And it works. That's nice.
Well, do we have any other questions down here? Oh, yeah, just wrap it up. Well, we have, let me just mention that Adrienne and Harry will be signing at Dark Delicacies tomorrow.
We're all
Oh, you're all going?
Wow. Tommy will be
Here
there.
we go, down the Sioux, both you guys all in. Oh, excellent, great. So we have a whole gang tomorrow at 2 o'clock? Yeah, 2 o'clock at Dark Delicacies, www.darkdel.com. So let's thank our guests, everyone. Let's get some Friday 6 action going on here.